What's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday to you. The Green Bay Packers today returned to the practice field, which means we've got injury updates for you. It also means that Matt LaFleur had to actually talk today. So we're going to give you updates on that press conference as well, and then see what you fine folks out there have to say. My name is John. I'm the host, and this is partner in life, Claudia, and she is going to start it off by giving you the injury update from practice today.
From practice today, Colby Wooden did not practice. Limited would be Jair Alexander, Kenny Clark, Josh Jacobs, Josh Myers, and Evan Williams. Marshawn Lloyd was limited while he is still on IR, and Jordan Love was not limited.
Hey, and some really big things there. Right, first of all, it was, spouted out by a lot of the beat reporters that everyone was practicing today, and then we got to the press conference and Matt LaFleur was like, hold up, Colby Wooden didn't practice. It's just nobody noticed. And then moving on from that, Marshawn Lloyd, now he is still on IR. They have opened up his 21-day window. So I do think there could be some gamesmanship here. Like LaFleur talked in his presser about really not bringing Lloyd back until he was fully ready. So even though that window's open, I think he's going to get in some limited practices. I'd be surprised if he's active this weekend. They may fill in their open spot with like a Robert Rochelle who's out of practice squad elevations, etc. until Lloyd is really back. Most fascinating aspect for me about Lloyd's return is what are they going to do with him? What running back are they going to get rid of? It seems completely impractical to carry 4 running backs, but at the same time, Chris Brooks has kind of been pushing his way to being running back 2. So who's going to go? It's going to be fascinating to watch this actually play out. And then, of course, Jordan Love not being limited in any capacity, full participant for the first time in weeks. Matt LaFleur actually talked about the importance of that Love actually took every snap in practice and really kind of what that means for the offense and Love himself and hopefully the growth of the offense that we see from there. Peter, bonjour, my friend. Hello, Jon and Claudia. Hope you're doing great. You as well, Peter. So some other kind of highlights from Matt LaFleur's presser. Some other people maybe are coming in, but he did acknowledge that effective this week, they changed up some things with the practice sequencing, with the schedule. He didn't necessarily say that they moved it to earlier, but he did the same thing with daylight savings last year. And he fully admitted he's not a fan of daylight savings. He believes it takes a toll on the body, especially with these young players. So they changed up the sequencing, trying to go for a little bit faster pace of practice. He said it worked very, very well last year. So it's something that they implemented again this year. Hopefully it bears the same fruit. Then he also talked about drops, penalties, how the vast majority of those issues just come down to fundamentals, and he's hoping the players get better in that regard. Then he also talked about play action and red zone and how it's important to kind of have the proper context around both of those things. I don't know. When he was talking about red zone, I didn't completely buy it because the question was asked about like the struggles. They're a top 10 offense in terms of scoring, yet they're one of the worst in the red zone. How does he make up for that? And he goes, well, we got to admit a few of those red zone trips were actually us in victory formation. And it's like, Matt, your team still sucks in the red zone. Come on. Like, we know it. It still has to get better. Come on, Matthew. But he wouldn't really give in on much there. But he did also say in terms of play action, PFF seems to credit some things that are not true play action as play action. It's in terms of how the team actually tracks that data. So I think play action does need to be used more often. I think we will see that now with the return of health for Jordan Love. Big Al, what you got?
Says, hi, Jon, Claudia. I'm expecting the Packers to have 6 sacks in this game versus a weak O-line of the Bears.
It would be nice. Like, they do have a terrible offensive line. The Patriots don't exactly have, this marquee banner worth of pass rushers, and yet I think it was 8 or 9 sacks off the top of my head that they notched against the Bears. I would think part of the change to Thomas Brown would bring in some different protections, perhaps intensified protections for the Bears. But still, this is another one of those weeks coming out of the bye. If you can't generate pressure against the Bears, okay, then we have a bona fide pressure problem. And it's something that is going to have to get fixed by Hafley for sure.
Packers Kingdom saying, Matt better do play action. Also saying, I need the front to eat.
On both accounts, 1000% true. No doubt about it. When you're talking about play action. Like, I get what Matt was saying today, that maybe the numbers appear a little bit worse than they are. I went back and I looked. Last year for Jordan Love, they ran about 26% play action per PFF's tracking. This year they're at about 21. And I think what Matt was saying was that, sometimes what PFF counts as play action is those simple little fake handoffs, maybe out of shotgun especially. Well, according to the Packers, that's not a true play action. A true play action is where the run action actually starts. So maybe their numbers look a little different. Regardless, though, I'm with you, Packers Kingdom. They got to get back to running that more often. They have to get Jordan on the move more, where he can really be dangerous, especially in setting up those deep shots. And the hope is with better health comes better results in those plays. I did see Zach Cruz put out I think it was a tweet earlier, where he talked about last year against the Bears in the second meeting, I believe it was. Jordan Love was 8 of 8 on play actions for over 140 yards. Now, if I'm misquoting that, I'm sorry. I believe that's what it was, as I kind of glanced over it. But more of that would be highly needed by this offense. And then, in terms of the front, like I said, they better this week, that's for sure.
Kevin Keppel saying, go Pack, go intensify.
Mm-hmm. All the go Pack go this week, my friend. Peter
saying, all I need to say is moron St. Brown sucks. That kid seems to have a grudge against Green Bay for not drafting him.
Well, and I think he's
Props
actually
to
like...
you for putting a space between Green and the Bay.
Yeah. Something that Amon-Ra St. Brown is not able to do, apparently. But I think he's even said as much, right? Like, he is not thrilled with Green Bay for not drafting him. It's not like he wouldn't be a worthwhile addition to the receiver room, right? And then Peter also saying...
So Justin Fields wasn't a bust after all.
No, he still can be.
Right.
Both things can be true. Ultimately, the Bears' offensive leadership over the last couple of years has been just about as rough as you can get, right? I still don't believe Luke Getsy is a bad coach. Maybe he's not the greatest coordinator in the world, but he ascended to where he did in Green Bay for a reason, right? And then he goes to Chicago. It's all run terribly, but they have bad personnel as well, right? So then they bring in Shane Waldron. And I saw Robert Mays, the NFL analyst, talk about way back in May when they hired Waldron, Bears are going to have problems. They're going to run everything to the outside. And then the data bore that out. They've run everything to the outside. And now their solution to all of this is bringing on Thomas Brown, who had a couple game stint as the Panthers coordinator last year. 2 awful results. And now he's going to be the solution for Caleb Williams. I don't know. I'm always just a little leery of the Packers having to go up against a coaching change, right? Because you never know what they may just pull out from nowhere. I'm always a little... With that being said, the results from the Bears offense since pre-Halloween have been anemic at best. They haven't put up an offensive touchdown since I think it's October 23rd off the top of my head. So defense has to perform in this game to live up to expectation.
Rockany saying, yo, John and White.
What's
I'm
up?
excited for Lloyd. Let's see more running against the sorry Bears.
I think, too, though, not just running, but like we mentioned, the play action should be able to make a return in this game for Jordan Love. And hey, if you're in the know, Toyotathon is on, which means expect Jordan Love to absolutely positively go off for what it's worth. But like I said, with Lloyd, I just don't know where exactly he's going to fit. Of course, you want this varied stable of running backs that can do all different things, right? Much like they have at wide receiver. But we've also talked about maybe some of the receivers aren't getting the ball consistently enough to really get themselves into a rhythm. Might they be running the same danger at running back with the introduction of Lloyd? There's only so many carries to go around. So, of course, I'm excited to see another playmaker in the fold. But where's he going to go? That's my big question. And I'm not sure the Packers have a complete answer on that yet.
Big Al saying, of course Preston Smith had a snap
Right.
with the Steelers.
Right.
Probably this scheme change does not fit our D-line, who's used to playing 3-4.
Yeah.
Next year, we need to draft D-line, who's used to playing 4-3 scheme.
And I wouldn't be shocked if really, like we've seen Brian Gutekunst look at these areas of need. Safety this year, wide receiver a couple of years ago, and just throw all the resources at it, right? I won't be tremendously shocked if edge rusher is one of those this year. And part of that will be the transformation to a more traditional 4-3 offensive or defensive line body type, including for your defensive ends, not necessarily just picking 270-pound Hercules or 275-pound Baines, right? But choosing someone a little bit more in the mold of someone who is quicker, twitchier, someone that you want to have in your stable of 4-3 edge. That really the closest thing they have right now is like Aaron Mosby, Brenton Cox Jr., depending on how many cheese curds have been had. So I think that that's potentially where we may see go. I also think Brian Gutekunst may just chuck resources at offensive line depth this year as well.
Kevin Kebble's weird fact, I've missed every Packers-Bears game since 2021
dang.
because my partner, by pure chance, had planned
Oh,
family
no.
stuff
Oh, no.
each time. Still going strong, apparently. Funny that.
Oh, no. No. I mean, this Sunday, it's a new game. Like,
but,
come on, man.
But if you've missed every Packers-Bear game, and we've consistently won against the Bears, maybe you should never watch another Packers-Bears game again.
Yeah, sorry, Captain Kebbles. Everyone's got to do their part.
I can't watch field goals and extra points. You can't watch Packers-Bears games. Sorry.
That's fair. I'll keep watching everything. All right, Peter.
Peter, I want to thank the Chicago Bears GM for drafting Caleb Williams instead of LSU superstar Jaden Daniels. Go Tigers, go.
You know, although, maybe if it were Jaden Daniels in Chicago, he'd be looking terrible like Caleb Williams. It may not be about the human beings at quarterback. It may be about the infrastructure surrounding them, and we are getting closer and closer to verifying that theory. Chicago may be doomed in that regard.
Rocket Needs, we just can't lose this game. You know this is the Bear fans' Super Bowl. Sorry, ass fans.
You know,
it really is. I kind of have that in the back of my head every time we play.
Right, and I think that that's my only other hesitancy, because when you look at this and look at how the Bears have performed, especially as of recent, even if the Packers, you know, coming off of a pretty brutal loss to Detroit where they played pretty terribly in several different ways, right? For Chicago, this game holds a tremendous amount of meaning. They talk about beating the Packers in July when we're talking about the playoffs. So I guess the only two real hesitancies that I have going into this game that are making me just a little apprehensive is the Bears are going to be way more fired up than the Packers and that coaching change. Whereas for the Packers, just another game. Hopefully, though, they get fired up on their own end.
Gavin Kills, I'm doing my part.
That's good. Sacrifice for the team, man. Yes. So while we caught up on everything, just a couple other things that I do want to relay to you from Matt LaFleur's press conference today. One, in terms of the pass rush, I know everyone's talking about how, like, we got to change something. We have to find the solution here. The Packers pass rush has to be better, and I don't disagree. I don't know as if Matt LaFleur disagrees either, but when pressed about the pass rush, he basically said, well, I think Half has found a couple nice things that have worked, and really it's about just tweaking them and doing them more. Matt LaFleur did not sound like a guy on the podium today who said that wholesale changes are coming to the pass rush plan. He didn't say, not that he would, but he didn't say that Halfley has found the magic ingredient over the bye, and now we're going to see stunting on every single down or anything like that. So I do think if you're anticipating changes to the pass rush, that's one area you may got to wait on a little bit. And then just one last thing, a bit of Bears news for you. All pretty much injury and transaction related. In case you're wondering, Jocon Brisker, their safety, big loss to their secondary. He is going to be out for this game again. Another game missed for a concussion for him. I was reading on some Bears accounts and stuff, and they're beginning to get downright worried about Brisker and the amount of time he's missing. So just know he's out. Also, did not practice today was Montez Sweat, but no one seems actually worried about him. No one's sweating sweat. And then last, they cut offensive guard Nate Davis, which has been a tumultuous reign for their offensive lineman because he was actually due to play this last week. And then apparently he was like, nah, I'm good. You don't want to play me when I'm healthy. I'm not going to play when you need me. So then they cut him. Another great signing by the Bears. Kevin Kevels.
Woo! Bears people are pointing out Chicago is pretty cheap at coaching staff. It's always their fourth and fifth coaching options that they go with, and it shows.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be shocked, though, if this offseason, if they get rid of Eberflus, with Caleb Williams there, with the money that they've invested in the offense, I'd be surprised if Chicago didn't go get their Ben Johnson, didn't go get their leader for the offensive side of the ball this offseason. In what could be the greatest turn ever, imagine Mike McCarthy gets fired from Dallas and then winds up in Chicago. McCarthy would hate himself. Like, yeah, just, but I can see it happening. So we'll see about that.
Honestly, what is worse? Your boss is Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
Or coaching the Bears.
And I will say too, keep in mind, people say the same thing about the Packers and their coaching budget, right? Outside of Rich Bisaccia. The same thing's been said about Darren Rizzi. For years, the Packers should have just paid up to get Rizzi. And I've shared before, I don't know as if that came down to money. I really don't think so. I know that's what got reported, but from what I've heard, Rizzi came in and demanded the world because his family didn't want to move to Green Bay. And then Murphy and company were like, yeah, no, we're not going to pay you double what the highest paid gets. Peace. And then he went back to New Orleans and is doing good things there. So, there's reputations out there about Green Bay too. So, in all fairness.
Cameron Kebble's hot take, Wicks is the key. Change a random half of his drops, literally any of them, 2 catches, and the games are looking very different. They force feeding him to seemingly get him ready. It'd be nice if our receiver could receive the ball.
Well, I think they're force feeding him because he's open. What are you going to do? The dude gets open and then not throw him the ball? He's just not really holding up the backhand half of his job. And I think that's where the Packers are finding themselves. I got to be honest. I find myself in the camp of until he can be trusted, he's got to kind of become your clear number 4. And one guy who I think does have to have his usage increased, his targets increased, has got to be Christian Watson. The dude hasn't dropped a pass this year. He has the best contested catch rate of his career. Now, I know there's still some problems with Watson. Look at the wind game that they had going against Detroit when he misjudged the deep ball and stuff. There's obviously still some things. There's some chemistry problems with Love. But are you telling me, he hasn't earned more opportunities at the ball? No, I believe he's one guy that has to start getting the ball more. And Wicks, I don't know. It's hard for me personally not to feel really negative about Dontavian Wicks. The potential is so sky high. But what good is it if you can't catch? And until he shows he can, I'm just not sure I would continue to trot him out there again and again and again, besides more than just a decoy type format. I don't know. I think it's got to be your 3 wide receivers pretty clearly are Watson, Dobbs, Reed. And just continue to roll them out with a healthy dose of Tucker Kraft in there as your tight end. And then as Wicks shows he can do more, kind of like last year. He wasn't part of the top 3 rotation last year until injuries caused him to be. That's the way I would really begin to lean. And then also you're hoping to get Watson in more of a rhythm. That's where I'm resting, man. And I don't know. I think we're still going to see Wicks a ton, and you just got to hope he actually hangs on to the friggin' ball. So, all right. That is catching you up on the news of the day. Now, in terms of scheduling, tomorrow I will be back. A little bonus episode on a Thursday talking about Packers that have their stock going up heading into the second half of the season since we covered the bad news yesterday. Then Friday, of course, game preview, Packers versus Bears. Peter, sneak it in before the buzzer.
Josh Jacobs said Marshawn Lloyd is electric, and I like it. That kid could be a game changer by the end of the season if he stays healthy.
Absolutely. I mean, he, like I talked about, after they got him, he can be their version of a muscle hamster, someone who is deceptively quick, very short, very stout, but yet has power and speed. He certainly has proven to be a receiving threat as well. That will be a nice asset to have out of the backfield. The one area that I doubt has shown much improvement as he's been hurt, because how do you really practice this, if you're not practicing, has got to be pass pro. For him to really start seeing significant snaps and being able to be used as a receiver, he's going to have to get pass pro down. And that, I think, is one thing that they're going to have to continue to work with him on. Luckily, the Packers have shown a good track record in improving these guys, like Emmanuel Wilson. Great example of a guy who's gotten really good at pass pro and started out pretty terrible when he got to Green Bay. So there's certainly signs of promise. I really like his potential. I like when he can add. It's just my question, who's he taking snaps from? And like I said, I'm not sure the Packers have an answer there yet. So, all right, everybody, time for us to get on out of here. Do hope you enjoyed your Wednesday. Now, tomorrow I'm back positive positive look at which Packers have their stock going up. You can bet on one Xavier McKinney going to be there. Oh, Jeremy, another one. Jeremy!
Have they opened up Luke Musgrave's window? Also, Josh Jacobs didn't have many opportunities in the second half. Was that due to aggravating an injury or something else? I just popped in. Well, hello.
Hey, Jeremy. No, so in terms of Jacobs, I'm assuming you're talking second half against Detroit, like that game specifically. That was just because Green Bay was down and they were passing a lot more, and you can argue they should have. I think that was just a game flow thing. If you're talking in terms of the second half of last year when he was in Vegas, then yes, you can chalk that up to injury. For Luke Musgrave, no, the window has not been opened yet. Matt LaFleur did say today that they're hoping to have him back sooner than later. But yet, when he talked just the other day, he said that it might be a bit yet. Musgrave wound up having surgery on that ankle. So this was not just a simple, like, we're going to rest him for 4 weeks, then he can pop back in on a sprained ankle. Like, no, dude had surgery. They knew it was going to be a while. So I think the hope for Musgrave is maybe like mid-December. Maybe they open his window around Thanksgiving. Then hopefully that would seem to track around what they've kind of been saying, getting him back right before the end of the year. I think that that's kind of the situation that we're looking at with Musgrave. And then for Jacobs, he was limited today. I think Josh Jacobs is just going to be one of those vets, kind of like Kenny Clark, that's just, they're going to limit him so that he doesn't have to do everything in practice because he doesn't need to do everything in practice. So expect a lot of limiteds, but by all accounts, dude seems pretty good to go. Big Al.
What's with Carrington Valentine and why is Stokes ahead?
Yeah.
He hasn't been playing bad this year.
I got to be honest. I don't know. I'm not sure anyone knows. I'm willing, though, to entertain the thought of it being that injury. Like, yeah, he came back from his ankle injury, but was he really right? Because it doesn't make a lot of sense to have one player outstapping Snokes, then he gets hurt, and he comes back and just doesn't play ever, unless he really did something to get into the doghouse that we don't know about, pulling a Dobbs or something. But I don't know. I got to look at injury. I got to hope, given what the product Eric Stokes has put on the field as of recent, that we are going to start seeing more Carrington Valentine. The other point, though, is the health of Evan Williams will drastically help in that regard as well. Because now with Evan Williams projected to be back at safety this weekend, you could put Bullard back in the slot, Nixon back out to the boundary, and suddenly Stokes isn't playing every single down like he did against Detroit. So there's a couple of solutions there. In terms of Valentine, though, I don't know. I got to hope that it's health. I'm hoping we start seeing more and more Valentine real soon. All right, everybody, we got to jump. Do hope you had a fantastic Wednesday. Back tomorrow, and then, of course, Friday with the game preview, looking at Packers versus Bears before our watch party this weekend. Hope you enjoyed it. And as always,
Go Pack,
go.